All right, we are live and we are good. Hello, my people. Welcome to the Score Channel. It's a pleasure to see you again. This is our third straight week of live streaming, and today we got something special for you. We got a Duolingo speaking workshop. Bunch of people have checked out our video on how to kill the Duolingo English test, and a lot of you guys in the comments were asking for help with the speaking part of the test and extra tips. And I said, why don't we just do this? Well, let's do a day where, we help you. I'm going to give you tips today to help you crush the speaking part of the Duolingo test. Trust me, if you apply these tips, your score will improve. I can 100% guarantee it. It's not just about your speaking ability. It's about how you approach a test. There's two different things. There's test skills and there's English skills. So if you've been using your English skills to the max and you're still not getting higher scores, maybe this stuff will help you, okay? I can't make you a better English speaker overnight, but I can show you how to use the test to your advantage and how to really work the different exercises that it asks you to do. This is not just good for Duolingo. This is actually going to be really helpful for anybody who's taken any kind of English speaking test, whether it's IELTS or TOEFL or FC or whatever. Honestly, all of these exams use the same kinds of exercises. In fact, some of the exercises on the Duolingo test are like carbon copies of what you see on the TOEFL or the IELTS. And so to help you practice those, I've actually taken stuff from IELTS and TOEFL prep materials to put into this workshop. So this is going to be really great if you're taking the Duolingo English test, but if you're taking any other kind of English test, I guarantee this is going to help you out. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat, please. I got it open right here. We're going to be going through 3 different types of exercises because that's what you see on the Duolingo test. They got 3 basic speaking tasks. The first ones ask you to describe images. The second one will give you a written prompt that you have to then, answer and develop. And finally, you're going to have ones where you listen and then give an answer. Okay, so we're going to go through all 3 of those today, and I'm going to show you how it goes. Now, if you're rewatching this, if I make a super cut of this later, or you're watching this whole live thing later, I would recommend that once I show you a new task or once you hear the audio for the task, you pause and try to do it yourself, okay? And then you can hear how I do it. And that way you get an idea of maybe how yours should be. So obviously we're doing this live, so I'm not just gonna have like a big old long silence between each exercise, but if you're doing this at home later on, I would encourage you to do it that way. Like pause it, try to do it yourself, and then listen to mine, and then maybe try doing it again, We're also gonna be paying a lot of attention to time because one of the most important things on the test is that you have 2 minutes to speak, okay, for all of these activities. And that time starts running once you start looking at these things you have to do. So it's really important for you to maximize your time, to use as much of that time to speak as possible. And I'm going to show you some structures that you can use to help you accomplish that. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start with the images, okay? And I'm going to give you a little formula that you can use to handle image descriptions. All right, it's very straightforward, okay? Just remember dad. That's all you got to do, okay? Dad. I don't have one, but it's fine. Doesn't bother me. DAD is an acronym. Stands for 3 things. First, describe, okay? This is where you're going to bust out your vocabulary, especially your adjectives and your verbs. What's going on in the scene? What is literally there? That's what you want to be looking for. You want to describe the image first. Then we're going to analyze, okay? We're going to go a little bit deeper and start asking why. Why are these things happening? What could be causes or effects of these things? And that will help you to get into different types of grammar. The reason we do these different things is so that we can show off our full set of skills. So when I'm describing things, I'm going to mostly use present tense. I'm going to describe with adjectives and some verbs. I'll say the sky is blue, or this thing is flying, this thing is moving. And so I'm just focusing on basic vocabulary. But then I'm going to step it up with that. When I analyze, I start getting into some possible past things, maybe why they came here, right? Or why they're doing this stuff, what happened before to make them do this, or maybe what they're trying to accomplish in the future. So in that sense, I'm going to start working past and present and future together when I start asking why. And that's why we analyze, because we got to show that we know more than one kind of English. I'm not just here to talk about the present. Finally, I want to develop this stuff, okay? So that's the DAD. That's dad. Describe, analyze, and develop. Develop means that you're going to speculate. You're going to think about what might happen, what could happen, okay? What are the possibilities? Again, this shows off other English structures. It shows off your other skills. And then I can also imagine, right? This is where you can get into the feeling. Like, what is the person feeling? What are they thinking, right? What might they be feeling or thinking in that moment? When you do it this way, I guarantee you're going to be able to express more ideas and develop your ideas better. And you're going to have an easier time filling the time that you have. Now, you might notice that I have just below my face here a little 2-minute timer, which I'm going to start as soon as I flick to this next message. So we're going to look at the very first picture, and I'm just going to jump right into it. Okay, so I just want to describe, analyze, and develop. If I do it that way, I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to fill my time and really, do a good job on the speaking test. So let's do an image. Now on the Duolingo test, the images were really, really small on my screen, but I'm going to make them a little bigger for you guys, make it a little bit easier. Okay, so don't forget to breathe. It's very important. You want to make sure that you're breathing correctly. In fact, your posture is also really important. I'm trying to sit up a lot today, because that lets me fill my lungs and really lets me like project well into the microphone and pronounce the words clearly. That's another thing. If you're hunched over like this and trying to speak into a microphone when you take this test, it's actually going to have a negative effect on your grade. You want to make sure that you are like shoulders back, chest out, get big, okay? So that when you breathe, you can let it out like this and it sounds a lot better. And believe me, that matters because an algorithm is checking your stuff on this Duolingo English test. So you want to make sure that you sound as clear and as good as possible. And your posture will have an impact on that. So believe me when I tell you that could easily be 5 free points right there is just posture, okay? All right, let's do it. All right, I'm going to start my timer. I'm going to start by describing. Voice projection, Franco, exactly. Okay, so I want to start by describing this picture. So in this picture, we see, looks like 2 guys and a younger person in a boat. It's a wooden boat on maybe a lake or a big river. This is a cloudy day. It's kind of hard to see where we are, but it looks like it could be the jungle. It's very remote. There's no civilization here. And I can see that there's just green in the background, some foliage, some trees, but that's about it. It's just gray water, gray skies, and trees. The boat is pretty small. It seems that maybe it could hold 6 or 7 people, but right now there's these 3 here, and there's the guy in the back operating a motor, and looks like the guy in the middle, who happens to look a lot like yours truly, is holding a beer. And so these guys might be tourists. They could be here to explore this area. They kind of look like tourists because these 2 guys look pretty different from the guy in the back. So I think that they probably came here to explore, go on an adventure. And maybe these 2 guys are friends or brothers that are traveling together and just wanted to go to somewhere new and see something different. It looks like they're having a good time. Like they seem to be having fun. They're smiling and enjoying their trip. And obviously you're going to have more fun if you have a beer in your hand. So that's cool. And it seems like a relatively cool place to go. It's hard to say exactly where they might be going. Maybe they're heading to some other location in the jungle for like a walk, or maybe they're going back to a lodge or a resort where they're going to stay for the night. I don't know exactly where they're going here, but it looks like they're having a good time doing it. All right, I'm going to stop there. That was about 1:45. I think that's pretty solid. If you can get over 1.5 minutes on the test, I think you're doing really well. When I did the test and I got 150, I was doing like 1.5 minutes at least. And so that's as far as I got with this one. I kind of ran out of stuff to say with this picture. But again, I started by describing everything. I described the sky, the background. I described the boat and the people in it. I then like kind of shifted into that analysis part where I talk about maybe they're tourists or they're here, on a trip or something. They came here. I start using past tense to explain why they're here, right? They came here to travel or to see things. I'm trying not to inject, this is obviously one of my pictures, and I'm trying not to like know everything about it for you guys to be realistic. Because obviously I know what's going on in this picture. I know that This is, Pucallpa, and I was in the jungle with my friend Jason, who appeared in the Canada video. So, I know these things, but I'm trying not to, use all my knowledge here. And then when I get into that, development phase, I'm starting to analyze like feelings and stuff. So I'm thinking about how they might be feeling. I can, use the fact that they're smiling to support the idea that they might be having a good time. I don't know where they're going. I'm starting to imagine where they might be going or where they want to get to, maybe again, the lodge or a resort. So that's where I have to start speculating and imagining things to try to fill that time with more ideas. So I start with the picture, but then I start thinking beyond the picture. What else is going on? What else is happening on this test? All right, let's do another. We're also going to feature Jason in this next one, but this one's a little bit different. So let's see what we got. Okay, in this picture, I see a man and a woman. They seem to be talking. It's hard to tell what kind of conversation this is. I think it could be an argument because she's pointing to herself and she looks like she's a little bit upset. And the man's posture, he's got his arms folded and he doesn't seem to be smiling or too happy. So maybe they're having a fight or an argument. However, the location is very nice and pretty. Like I see a lot of flowers in the background. I see a lot of trees in the background. And there's a bag there also in the middle of the picture that says Tambo de Atacama. So maybe this is like a restaurant or like a touristy place and they bought something there. So maybe these two are a couple and they could be visiting this place together and maybe they're talking about their experience at this place or they're discussing some issue that they had on this part of the trip. I also can tell that like these two probably traveled together. I can see that they seem to be carrying bags. I can see the girl has a bag over her shoulder. And given he does also, they're probably travelers or tourists. So I don't know exactly where this could be, but I also see in the background something that looks like a machine that's like maybe presses down on stuff. So maybe this is like a vineyard or a winery or like some sort of distillery or something that could be, because I see that corkscrew shaped thing in the back and I don't know exactly what that's for, but it could be like an old press or something. So it looks like a very beautiful place to spend a day. I would certainly like to spend a day here. You got a lot of beautiful scenery and could be a lot of fun. All right. Once again, I left 13 seconds on the clock. What's up, Marco? What's up, Carlos? How you guys doing? So in this case, if I'm trying to, again, I'm trying to fill my time, and that's one of the hardest things to do is filling the time. So at the end, I'm imagining myself in that situation, like saying that I would like to spend a day here. I would like to go to this place. By doing that, I can kind of inject myself into this scenario a little bit. Again, I start off by trying to describe what I see, and where I'm not sure, I'm taking some guesses. I see here that based on their posture, their body language, I get an impression that maybe they're not like having a friendly conversation. I can see the girl kind of being like, and the guy being like, oh. So I don't know exactly what's going on here. Again, of course I do. This is Michelle and Jason, but I traveled with them to Ica and I know what's going on there. But again, I'm trying not to inject too much of my own knowledge into this to keep it as fair as possible. So again, describe it, analyze it, develop it. We're going to change scenery now and we're going to get rid of Jason. We're done with Jason for these pictures. I got a couple more that I want to do with you guys. So I'll show you what's up. Go ahead and eat. Buen provecho. All right. So Carlos, fill your belly. Okay. Remember my posture? Okay, here we go. Okay, in this picture, it seems that we have a street that has some normal cars, but it also has go-karts, and we see like 5 or 6 red go-karts in front of the other cars, and there are a lot of lights. This looks like a nighttime scene, and there's some symbols on these signs, so maybe this is China or Japan, based on the type of letters I see on the sign in the background and in the business back there. And then we see that the people in these carts are wearing some funny costumes. One of them looks like a Pikachu. Somebody else looks like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. I don't know what these other ones are, but they're wearing like strange costumes or clothes, and they look like they're having a lot of fun. They're smiling, and they're getting ready to drive their go-karts on what appears to be a normal street. So I think that maybe this is some kind of activity you can do in this place. Like maybe you can rent go-karts and do a tour around the city, even though I wouldn't think you could do that because this is like a normal road, and I didn't know go-karts could drive on the same road. That seems weird. Maybe these guys are part of some sort of like tour group or a club that drives their go-karts around. I don't know. But this looks like a lot of fun, and it looks also like it's pretty safe because they don't seem very worried. They're not wearing any helmets. Like they must not be too concerned about getting hit by a car because they're just in the main street with go-karts. So this looks like a lot of fun, and I'm wondering if I can do this because this looks like a great time. I would like to try this. Again, I'm finishing on a personal note to kind of like wrap it up. I think in this case, the description is, I'm trying to look for deeper details. Like you see how I kind of made the conclusion that this is somewhere in Asia based on the letters on the signs. And I'm looking in the background for those details. Like when you get a picture on these tests, make sure you really take a moment to scan around and look for any clues that you could use to add to your speech. Like you don't want to run out of ideas. You want to try to use as much of your time as possible. The best way to do that is to look for more details, more things that you can describe. I probably could have spent a little more time even describing the go-karts, talking about how they have lights on the front. I used the lights to sort of conclude that this was a nighttime shot, but I could have maybe commented on that a little more as well. The people and their faces and their costumes were definitely the thing that attracted my attention the most. So that was what I focused on. And I think that would be natural to focus on those things. So I'm trying to analyze this and figure out what these people are doing on a main road in go-karts. It's, again, pretty tough to tell, but it looks like a fun activity. This was actually a real shot that I took from Japan. I was in Tokyo, and this is right next to the, I think it's called the Shibuya Scramble. It's like this major intersection where like 12 roads meet, and all the light turns red so that pedestrians can cross, and then each lane takes a turn, and these people in go-karts wearing costumes just pulled up to me. And I was like some of the people that aren't in this picture were wearing like Mario and Luigi costumes. It was basically like Mario Kart in real life in Japan. So that's pretty awesome. We're going to stay in Japan while we do the next picture. Yeah, it is a little tricky. Like I said, you want to describe, analyze, and develop. You want to like describe what you literally see. Think about what's going on there. Maybe what are the things happening that you can't see? And then imagine maybe how the people feel, what you would do in that situation, stuff like that. Like you got to fill 2 minutes as much as possible. That's the tricky part. Okay, we're going to do one more picture. So in this picture, I see an older Japanese man. He's wearing a traditional blue robe, it seems. Underneath that, he has like a sweater and more common clothes. He's got 2 pairs of glasses, so that must help him see what he's doing really well. Looks like he's painting a paper lantern. I think that's what those are. Those are paper lanterns, which are really traditional in Asia. And it looks like he also has on his desk some drawings or patterns that maybe he uses to copy those onto the lanterns. He also has some different pencils and pens and an eraser and some ink. So he seems to be applying the ink now directly to this paper lantern. I can see that he's very, very concentrated. Like he's really focused on what he's doing. His movement seems very deliberate and precise. He's, again, with 2 pairs of glasses, he must be really focused. He's really concentrated on what he's trying to do. So this could be his job. Maybe like this is what he does, is he makes these paper lanterns and he sells them. So he wants them to be really good. Maybe this is something that he's just doing as a demonstration, like to show other people how to make these lanterns and what they're for. So I think that this is just something that is like a hobby for him, and he probably does it and really feels good about doing it. I think this is something he obviously really likes to do because he seems very lost in what he's doing, like almost like he's in a trance or in the zone. And I know that I get that way when I do creative stuff too. So I imagine he really enjoys this work, and he probably can make some good extra money by selling those lanterns. I was going to buy one, but I didn't know if I could bring it back safely. Yeah. I kind of cheated on the last few seconds by talking about my personal experience. I took this picture too, so. But yeah, there you go. 1 minute and 59 seconds. That'll work. So again, in this case, there's not a lot of other things going on. So what I did was spend more time describing the things that I saw. Because again, that's a good place to flex your vocabulary. So I'm like, okay, eraser, pens, pencil, ink, patterns, pads of paper. Like I tried to describe every object I could here because there's not a lot else to look at. It's not like the previous picture. I mean, if you just compare the previous one, I got all kinds of details that I can pick out from this scene. You know, between the costumes and the go-karts and the street and the nighttime and the signs, there's a lot of things that I can pick up. But here I have to sort of focus more on just a few details and try to really connect those ideas. So I started thinking about, you know, like the fact that he has two glasses, and that means he must be really concentrated, really focused, trying to connect those ideas and explain them some more. Again, describe, analyze, develop. So by the end of it, I'm developing maybe his thoughts and feelings, like that he is proud of his work, or that he takes it very seriously, or that it's really satisfying for him. So it's not impossible. It's tricky, but it's not impossible. It's just something where you got to be able to come up with ideas naturally. And this is, you can practice this all day on your own. Just go to Google Images, type something in, and pull up pictures, and just start, or go through Instagram and just start scrolling and like practice describing pictures that you come across. If you're going to take a test and they ask you to do this, that's the easiest way to practice it. Just practice doing it, because it's not that hard. They're not challenging you to talk about anything specific. They're challenging you to see what you can come up with. Unfortunately, the way these tests work is like, if you can't think of more things to say, they assume you don't have the English to do that. That's what it assumes. If I finish in 45 seconds, they assume that I don't have more vocabulary, or I don't have more English to express what else I see here. And that's not really true. If you can do a basic description of this scene, you can also talk about this guy's feelings and thoughts. You can talk about, you know, the concentration that he has. Like, you can talk about his clothes. You have the English. You have the ability. It's just a question of having the ideas. And that's what the test is really calling for, is ideas. So don't feel like you need to have a super high level of English to knock this test out of the park. Like, that's not the point. The point is, how much of your English can you show? And are you going to get stuck because you can't creatively come up with ideas? Or are you going to get stuck because you genuinely don't have the words? I guarantee more often than not, it's because you're just having a hard time thinking of what to say. It's not an English problem. It's a bit of a creativity problem. And that's what I'm hoping to show you how to fix today. All right, we're going to move on to the written tasks, okay? I'm going to show you guys how those go. So the written tasks are basically where you're going to get it like this, okay? They're very, very much the same as speaking part 2 of IELTS. If anybody's preparing for IELTS and they also want to practice this part, this is it. Like, this is your moment, okay? Pay attention. If you guys are doing the I never can say it right. Duolingo English test. I always want to say Duo English. I just want to merge the words together. If you're doing the Duolingo test, then they also have speaking parts that are identical to IELTS Part 2. And they're so identical that I literally just took IELTS prompts and put them in here. Like, they're 100% the same. So if you need to practice this type of task for Duolingo, look for IELTS Speaking Part 2. If you need to practice that, you're in the right place, okay? We got you. So I'm going to show you an example of one of these and show you how to do it, but it's very simple. All you got to do is follow the points. They're going to give you 3 or 4 things that you have to do. There's like a central command or prompt, And then there's like 3 or 4 little sub things that you got to do. Okay? Very, very easy to do it. All you got to do is follow the points. And if you still have time, tell a story. That's it. Tell a story. Because you can go on and on with your story until the end of time, until it cuts you off. If you get cut off, it's okay. You don't have to have a perfectly neatly wrapped conclusion to finish this part of the test. Just talk, okay? Follow the points and then tell your story. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I got a couple of these here. And again, I pulled these from the website, which is actually in the corner of each screenshot, so you can see. All right, let's do this. Okay, so I'm gonna read this real quick. Describe an activity that you like to do in your free time after work or study. And you should say what you do, where you do it, when you do it, who you do it with. Explain why you like to do this activity. So I'm just gonna go through these points and I'm gonna tell a story at the end, okay? So something that I like to do after I finish work or whenever I have some free time is play Rocket League. Rocket League is a video game that you can play on consoles and on your PC. It's basically car soccer. So you take a car and you hit a ball and you try to put the ball in the goal. So it's a game that I play at home. Like I play it on my computer, sitting right here at my desk. And I usually get to play Rocket League in the evenings. Not every day of the week because I sometimes have way too much work to do, but I try to play a little bit every week. Usually like Friday night is a good night for me to play Rocket League. Maybe like weekends during the day. So it depends on how much work I have to do. And if I have like a lot of things to do, then I don't play anything, but I try. I used to play this game all by myself. I never played with other people. I've always been like a solo gamer. And then more recently, I started playing with random people online. I would like play the game online. And if I was connecting really well with somebody, I started asking them to keep playing with me. And then I've actually got into a couple of groups on Discord, which is like an app that people use to communicate when they play video games. So on Discord, I get to like talk to these people live. So we talk to each other, we tell jokes, we laugh while we're playing the game. I like to do it just because it's so challenging. Like it's a game where you could spend thousands of hours and still not be good. And there's still people better than you that can do more amazing things than you. Like I can think of times where I have pulled off these amazing highlight plays that just are incredible and mind-blowing. Like this one time I hit this double tap off the backboard right into the goal as the time expired to win the game for my team. And those moments are just so amazing. Like it's one of the best feelings in the world. Boom. There you go. That's it. I started telling my story to kind of answer the last point. I just started telling a story of like me hitting a double tap off the backboard and like dropping it in for the win. That's it. That's how I'm going to finish these off. So I started by saying what Rocket League was. I explained it a little bit, you know, because like you can't assume that the other person or the person that reviews this knows what it is. So I wanted to explain a little bit of what it was. And then like I talk about the where very quickly and when. I explained my schedule and how sometimes I have work to do. Then I got into the who and I talked about the Discord peeps and how I used to play solo. That's another move is like go back in the past a little bit. Contrast. I said used to. I want to show off my different skills. So I wanted to show that I can talk about the past and the present. And then why I like it, you know, I get into my reasons and I tell my story. And that's it. That's really all you got to do. So follow the points. Just go down the list. Don't overthink it. And then when you get to the last one, just keep talking. Tell your story until you run out of time. Let's do another. Let's keep it going. I'm feeling it. I'm on a roll. All right. Describe a problem that affects the environment in the area where you live. So a major problem that affects my area, which is Lima, Peru, I believe is littering, or when people throw trash into the street instead of putting it in a trash can or disposing of it correctly. Littering, I think, is a major issue in Peru. There are several reasons why it's a big problem here. I think that one of the causes is just people not caring. I think a lot of people have a bad education. They don't think that it's a problem. And they also assume that someone else will take care of it, because there are people that the city pays to clean up the streets, you know, and you can see these people very early in the morning at 6 in the morning, sweeping the street and picking up trash. And so I think a lot of people just go, oh, well, if I throw some trash out of my car, those people will pick it up. And so I think that's why a lot of people don't feel like it's a big problem. I think a lot of people just assume that it's normal to do that. And so I think that that's the main cause. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people don't like it. But then there's also a lot of people that feel like it's not an issue. And so they keep perpetuating the problem. So I think that there's a few things that need to be done to solve this. First of all, I think we should really punish people hard when they do this, because they will do it very openly. I've seen people sitting at a red light just throw a cup outside the window and nobody does anything. And I think that as a society, we should start by being like responsible. If I see somebody throw trash in the street, I pick it up and throw it back in their car. I throw it back in their window. And it's like, no, you want to throw stuff in the street? I throw it on you. Okay. And then like, you know, I think we should have the police punishing these people way more severely. There should be fines. There should be penalties for people who do this. I think you should lose your license if you keep throwing trash out of your window. It's unacceptable behavior. And in my opinion, the only way to get it done is to, like, you know, eliminate people with punishments. All right. That time I didn't get too deep into a story in this situation. I was just kind of like, you know, trying to explain what I think could be done to solve it, because I have strong feelings about this, as you can see. So I got into the causes and I connected that to the next point about what people feel, you know. So I think in this case, again, I had to talk about the problem, describe the problem, but then go into these causes and what people feel. And in this case, I see like the two groups, right? One group that thinks it's no problem, one group that hates it, and talk about solutions. And that's it. Again, if I had more time and I didn't know what else to say, I think I would tell more stories. I tried to tell a little one where I saw somebody do this, you know. I think that that's the best way to fill in my time. And I didn't really need to do a longer story in this case, because I had a lot of ideas for what could be done to solve the problem. I didn't get into my, you know, my more final solutions, but maybe if I had another 30 seconds, I could have told you what I really think. But if you throw trash in the street, you're a terrible person. Please don't. Okay. Now, one more. I got one more of these. Let's go. Describe an object you own that is important to you. Okay. So I don't have a lot of important possessions. I have things that obviously are very important to like my day-to-day life and my work, but there's one thing in particular that is very important to me, and that is my gavel right here. This is the award you get when you win Best Delegate in a Model United Nations conference, and I received it when I won Harvard National Model United Nations Latin America 2018. And so this was given to me by the director after I won that competition, and that was an extremely satisfying moment. I don't use this really. I don't like bring this out very often. I do sometimes to show off and show people like, hey, I got a masito, I got a gavel, deal with it. But I generally just keep it right here in my desk, and it's here at all times, not for any real reason, just because it's important to me. And it's important to me because there's a couple reasons. One is it reflects the hard work that I put in for that event. Like, I busted my butt to really win that event. It was probably the hardest I've ever prepared for anything ever. And I spent the better part of 4 days doing this event and working really hard and staying up all night to get the win. And it felt really good to get that win. And also because the year before that, I went to an MUN event and it didn't work out well. I got kicked out of the conference, and it was one of the worst experiences ever. So for me to get this the year after that happened was like so significant for me. It was just one of those moments where I felt like justice had been served. I went from being the delegate that was expelled from a conference to being the best in the conference. And that was a pretty wild moment. And it was also really nice because a lot of cool people were there supporting me, and I'll never forget it. Boom. There you go. That's it. So again, just went through it, told my story. And I think these are pretty straightforward. So if you want to practice these kinds of exercises more, all you got to do is look for these IELTS Part 2. Okay, just look for IELTS Speaking Part 2. There are tons of prompts online, tons of material for this. This is exactly what they do on the Duolingo test. It is like identical. They give you a prompt, they give you bullet points, they give you 2 minutes to talk. So if you practice for this IELTS Part 2, you are ready for the second part of Duolingo English Speaking. Thank you, Diana, for the applauses. I appreciate that. It was emotional. Not gonna lie. So that brings us to the last ones, and the last ones are listening tasks. So I'm going to show you how these work. Now, these are very common on the TOEFL, and I have taken some examples from the TOEFL to make this practice material for you. The thing is, the Duolingo English test, which I still can't pronounce after 5 times trying it, the Duolingo test has the same kind of exercise. It has an exercise where you get an audio and answer a question, and that's it. Okay? You can replay the audio twice. It will start playing when you advance to that question. So let's say you were doing a writing task and you just finished your writing task, and then you hit next. It will start playing that audio immediately on the Duolingo test. So you're going to lose one of your listens right away, and you're probably not going to be prepared for it. So you're going to need to, hear it again. I would recommend listening to it again before you start. The thing to understand is that you can only record your answer once. So if you start hitting record, that's it. You can't go back and hear the audio again. You can't stop in the middle and be like, oh, wait, I should have listened to that again. Let me do that. No, that's it. Like once you hit record, you are locked in. On the TOEFL, you don't even get to replay the audio, but it doesn't start right away. So you just, when you're ready, you hit the button, you hear it once, you answer the question. So in that sense, I think that Duolingo is actually easier because you can replay that audio before you record yourself. And the TOEFL is a little harder because you don't get that replay opportunity, but you do at least get to be ready when you do it. So a lot of times, this is going to depend on your ability to understand what they're asking for. And I would encourage you to have, if you're allowed to take notes. Now on Duolingo, they tell you can't do that. And really, you shouldn't need to because you can replay the audio. But if you're taking the TOEFL, you are allowed to take notes. And I would encourage you to do that because if the audio mentions something important and you forget about it and then you speak and you forget that part, it will hurt your score. So a big part of keeping your score up here is answering everything in the audio. Make sure you answer everything in the listen. Okay. If you hear it, you got to talk about it. So I got 3 audios. We're going to do it like this. Okay. First, very simple. You want to define 2 to 3 ideas in your opening lines, kind of make a mental outline. It's going to ask you for your opinion on something generally, or what you think about something. So you're going to want to have 2 or 3 supporting reasons or ideas to talk about. And then you're going to give an example for each one of those. You want to say, this is my idea, plus here's an example. Could be from your personal experiences. Could be, something you've seen on a movie or TV or whatever. That's the ideas. Ideas, examples. 2 or 3 sets of that, and you should be able to fill your time pretty well. So I'm going to play this first audio. You're going to hear this, and I'll probably play it twice just so you can hear it clearly. And we'll do it. Whoops, maybe we won't.
Choose a place you go to often that is important to you and explain why it is important.
Okay, so that was pretty easy to understand, but I'm going to play it one more time just because I can.
Choose a place you go to often that is important to you and explain why it is important.
All right, I got this unlocked. So a place that I go to that is important for me would probably be the Malecón en Miraflores. If there's a place that I would say I go to often, it would probably be that place. Especially the Parque del Amor. It's the love park, as it's called in Spanish. And I like that spot because I used to go there from time to time with some friends and just hang out. And it's one of the places that I used to go to a lot when I first came to Peru. Like, there was something about the place that brought me a lot of peace and tranquility. I have quite a few pictures of me in that place. When you get there, there's a mosaic. There's a like mosaic wall that runs around the edge of the park. And it's the perfect height and shape. It's curved. You can sit there on it and just sit back and kind of look out at the sea and see the sunset. And that's really cool to me, that you can just kind of sit back, watch the sunset or watch it rise, just enjoy the ocean breeze and the smell of the sea and the warm air flying up. And the other reason it's really important to me is like I've spent some really cool moments with some very cool people there. There's some people who were very close to me, who I've spent a lot of time with in this place. Even people who are guests who visit me, or tourists that I meet, I take them there. I'm always like, just let's spend, half an hour here, because it's such a chill place and it's really good for taking pictures. So I think that's the thing, is like I've spent a lot of time there, and every time I go back, I feel the same sense of calm and peace, and everybody who I take there enjoys it, and it's always very memorable. So I think that's a place that I would consider important to me. There we go. So just kind of focused on two ideas there. The idea that I've spent a lot of time there and it has kind of a nostalgic value, but I also like talk about the setting of the place. And then the other half is sort of the people, I tried to break it into those two ideas to divide that up and explain my feelings about this place a little bit more. It's a cool spot, I don't know if anyone ever goes there, but it's a cool spot. Let's do number 2.
What characteristics
Oops, I clicked out of there. Let's try that again.
do you think make someone a good parent? Explain why these characteristics are important to you.
All right, let me hear that again.
What characteristics do you think make someone a good parent? Explain why these characteristics are important to you.
Okay, it's an interesting question. Here we go. All right, so again, I want to have 2 or 3 ideas and kind of like, structure my answer around those ideas. So I think good parents have a couple of key characteristics. First is that they have to be loving and genuinely interested in their children. But also I think they have to have a level of maturity that's really important. We often assume on that topic of maturity that just because someone's an adult, they're more mature. Just because they have kids, they're more mature. They're more responsible. But that's not necessarily true. Lots of people have kids unexpectedly. They have kids even though they didn't really want to, or just because it was social pressure telling them that it was the right time to have kids, or at their age they should have kids. And I think a lot of parents have children without really being emotionally ready to do that. I think they're not always mature. They're not always ready. And I think that creates a lot of problems for their children. Like, if somebody is going to bring a person into this world, they should absolutely have their life organized and be ready and have, their finances in order and things too. I don't think it's right to bring someone into the world only to give them a bad life. And I think that the love component obviously is like a mandatory component of being a parent. Like, if you're going to be a parent, you need to love your kid. Like, everyone deserves to feel loved. Everyone deserves to have that kind of close relationship in their life. And it's not right for someone to grow up without that. So I think those two things are really connected. Like, if you're prepared and you're ready and you understand the commitment that is having a child, then you probably will provide them with a loving environment and it will be a good experience for them growing up. If you're not ready, if you're not mature, then you might still love your kid, but you might not know how to show that love. You might not be ready for that. And I think that is why I think love and maturity are like the 2 most important things for parents. Everything else you can figure out as you go. So on this one, like, again, I kind of picked my 2 points. I picked the love point and maturity point, and then I went with the second one first. Like, I explained them love and maturity, and then since I just mentioned maturity, I stayed in that topic, switched over to the love topic, and as I wrapped it up, I mentioned the 2 things again, just so it was really clear what my 2 ideas were. This is how you do the speaking, guys. Like, you want to organize your ideas and really like structure what you want to say. And in that case, I was able to use 2 minutes like almost perfectly. So I got another one. It's going to be my last one for today. I'm going to show you guys how to do it. All right, we're going to do one more of these where I listen and answer the question.
Imagine your life 10 years in the future. Talk about one way you think your life will be different in 10 years than it is now.
I'm gonna hear that one more time.
Imagine your life 10 years in the future. Talk about one way you think your life will be different in 10 years than it is now.
All right, that's a pretty deep question. Okay. So 10 years in the future is kind of a scary thought because like a lot can happen in 10 years. I think the main difference in my life will probably be where I find myself. I expect myself to be traveling more in 10 years and to be in more places. Right now, I think I'm in that phase of my life where it's like the grind, where I have to work really hard, save up some money, pay off this house, and then have more freedom later. And I think that that's part of life, that you have to sometimes work through some phases that take a lot of effort, and you won't necessarily want to get up and go to work every single day. But I hope that like in 10 years from now, I have more of that freedom. I think I'll have the freedom to travel more, to work from wherever I want, to explore the world more, and not be tied down necessarily to a day job, because I see my company growing, I see my other options expanding, and I see myself wanting to explore those options. And I think that once I have accumulated a little bit of wealth and capital and I've been able to like pay off this place, then I have that freedom to say, yeah, I can take a few months off of work. Yeah, I can go travel for a year. Yeah, I can go like run my business from somewhere else. Maybe for, I'll spend a year in Japan and run my business there. I could do that. That's all stuff that could happen in 10 years. And I think that in order for that to happen, I have to really like work hard right now. Even the days I don't want to, even the moments where it's difficult, because like that is the key, is hard work. If you put in the hard work, you get the reward, and then eventually, you can get done early. I don't know that I'll be able to retire in 10 years, but I think I'll at least have a more dynamic, exciting life in 10 years because of the work that I'm putting in today. I hope that's true, and you guys can make that true, and you already are by being here. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's watched today. Next week, I don't know what I'm going to do, to be honest. I got some ideas for live stream next week, but I was thinking about doing some SAT stuff, maybe talking about college admission stuff. I don't know. We got a lot of ideas. I'm going to play around with them. Maybe I'll surprise you. If you guys have something you would like to see, please leave a comment. Let me know. Tell me what you want, okay? I want to make things that you want and do things for you. I'm going to be releasing a supercut of this just like I did last week, probably later this week. So I'll shorten it up and make it really easy for you to follow through this and do the practice if you want. Again, thank you everybody for checking it out, and I hope you have a great day.